Okay, this is just a extra practice problem here, or a piecewise function. Let's start off with the first one here, and let's do this one maybe a little different. Let's just take each piece and graph each piece as we go. So let's start with this one. We're going to graph this one. Now, this one can only exist if x is less than 4. So that's going to put us or negative 4, excuse me. So this is going to put us a boundary at negative 4. And so we're actually only going to draw that on the left side of 4 there. So let's graph 1/4 x minus 3. That's going to start us off at a y-intercept of negative 3. So we're going to have a 3. And then we're going to rise 1 and then run 4. But there again, I'm only going to draw that line where x is less than negative 4, which would be over here in this area. That's to the left of 4. We'll line those points up. There again, I'm only going to start drawing it from this point out, which is to the left of negative 4. Okay, it was just less than, so it's going to be an open circle. Okay, now in the next one, we've got negative 2. So that's just a vertical line, and it only goes from negative 4 to 1, in between negative 4 and 1. So our other border is going to be at 1 here. And so I'm just going to draw that horizontal line in between negative 4 and 1. So at negative 2, it's just going to be this horizontal line. Okay, now these endpoints are going to be included, so they're going to be closed. That's the middle one. Okay, last one is just 2x, so that y-intercept there would just be 0, so that means we would start at the origin, and notice this one's only going to be to the right of 1. So we start at 0, and then we're going to rise 2 and run 1. All right, but when we graph this one, we're not actually going to draw it from the origin, but we're going to line these points up and only draw from 1 on over to the right. So there's where 1 is, so we're going to draw there and then on over to the right. And that one's just greater than, so it's just going to be open there. Okay, let's do one more. So let's try this one. We're going to call this one P of X. First one, let's do negative 2x plus 1 if x does not equal 2, and then 3 if x equals 2. So we're just going to graph this line, and this is sort of going to be our border. It's not really the border, but it's just the location where the line cannot cross it. So when we get to the value of x equal 2, we won't go through that line, but we'll sort of jump over it. So we could here put us a little dashed line here to show us that's the line that we're not supposed to cross. Okay, so we'll sort of jump over that. Now let's graph negative 2x plus 1. So I'll go up 1, my y-intercept, and then my slope is negative 2 over 1, so we would fall 2, and then run 1. Okay, but when we graph this, we're going to jump over that line, because x can't be 2. So there's where x is 2. I have to jump over that and then continue it. And so right there, that's going to be an open circle, or that's actually called a hole. Okay, now the next one, this would be y equals 3, which is just a horizontal line at 3, but then it's only at one value, so it only ends up being a point. So the ordered pairs for this point would just be 2, 3, and all I have to do is put a dot there. So 2, 3, and put that dot right there. It's kind of like the hole got removed and put it in another location there. Okay, now one little extra tidbit here that might be sort of useful. I'm going to go back to the first one. and show you these really could have been done on the graphic calculator. Okay, so you're probably going to need to look at that other one while I'm doing this. But we can go to y equals, and what we can do is do a piecewise function on the graphing calculator. Now the key is that you have to put everything in parentheses. So I'm going to put in parentheses 1/4, let me do that again, 1/4 x minus 3. And then what I have to do is put the restriction part, that was the x is less than -4, beside it in parentheses. So x less than -4, you have to figure out where to get the less than sign. And I'm going to show you where to do that. So you open a parenthesis, and we'll do x. Now, is less than, you're going to get from a menu here. So the way that we're going to get less than is you're going to go to the test menu. It's above math right here. So if you hit second and then test, you'll notice the fifth choice says less than. So I'll choose that one, or I can hit the number 5 and it throws it into y equals for me. And so we were less than -4. And then close the parentheses. So notice that's just the first one. So what you have to do is you have to enter the second one into the y2. So on the y2, this one was just -2. Oh, I got to put it in parentheses. Let me start over. So -2. And then beside it in parentheses, we're going to put this. So let's just type that in, -4. And then we've got to do less than or equal to x. So I'm going to go to that menu again. So that's that test menu. So you have to hit second and then the math key. And so less than or equal to x, and then which is less than or equal to, again, I'm going to the math menu, or that test menu, which is less than or equal to, and it was 1, and then close that parenthesis. Okay, and then the last one, you had 2x. Again, the whole key with the piecewise functions is that everything has to be put in parentheses. And then in the parentheses, that restriction was x had to be greater than 1. So x, and then back to that test menu to get the greater than symbol. And then 1. And I'm going to do, I set my window to the standard window, so I'll do a zoom 6. Okay, and it's actually, should grab that piecewise function. I think it messed up on the horizontal line there. Let me go back and look at that one again. Yeah, it doesn't have, sort of messed up doing that. I think the deal is it can't probably read an in-between statement. So you would probably have to break that up as an and. But that does get you pretty close to what it was, except for it didn't get the in-between part. So you can kind of see that's very, very similar, except for this should cut off right here. That's how you do it on graphing calculator.